Good evening, everyone. My name is Alex, and for the longest time, I've been contemplating starting a video series, a YouTube channel to really document life in all of its different chapters from a fitness standpoint, from an automotive enthusiast standpoint, from a family life standpoint. And to get right into it, the biggest consideration I've had, the biggest obstacle I've found is simply asking yourself where to start. And that's what I want to talk about today here. These past couple days specifically, I've been taking some time to really think of kind of the focal point of getting started and a chance to share a little bit about myself, but also have a little bit of focus going into a video series for an introduction to share a little bit about my life and where I'm at from a current state standpoint. And that question alone of what the focus would be has been, again, the biggest obstacle. And what I've realized in these past few days is it doesn't necessarily matter at this point what the focus is per se for the information I provide to the world or the video documentation that I supply out there, but the biggest step to a journey of this size and learning what it takes to not only record video, to put it on YouTube, it's going to be a learning experience. But the biggest step is simply diving in, taking that first step, taking that leap of faith, having a chance to really just start somewhere. And I find that that's kind of a big piece that I like to talk about as time goes on when it comes to the human nature, my human nature, when it comes to starting new things. I'm a big believer in learning constantly. And for me, recently, in the most recent history, in the past, I'd say several years, the world of fitness and nutrition have been the most recent concepts that I've really immersed myself in to learn. And I find that when it comes to wishing to learn how to work on a vehicle, build a gaming PC, form a relationship, start in the gym, be better about nutrition, start a YouTube channel, you can spend a lot of time plotting what the next steps look like and what exactly that first step forward can be. And in doing so, I think from a human nature standpoint, it can almost be intimidating just to start somewhere. And that's the focus of us here today. In my time with this first introduction is to really just take that first step. So a little bit about myself and kind of what we're here doing today. That's kind of what I'm hoping to do too, is, share a little bit each day, give you a little bit of a perspective into my world and my life with my family, and how things evolve, and have a little bit of a video series, a diary series, if you will, of progression through life. So for myself, I'm actually here at a clinic in town doing some COVID testing. My wife's in there actually getting tested as we speak for some pretty generic symptoms from a headache, nausea, stuff like that, but we're playing it safe. And we've actually done that over the past several weeks, and during this whole quarantine season, I suppose you could say, here in town there's been several different testing facilities that have come up from an old Gander Mountain that actually got repurposed for the state to perform saliva testing, which I have to say was quite a great experience, not only from how long it took to do the testing itself, but the turnaround time for results was less than 24 hours. Really didn't need a whole lot of insurance information. Took us right in. The hardest part was sitting at a table in an old retail store trying to generate enough saliva to spit into this canister, try to muster up enough spit to get to the line. But that was a good experience, and tonight's been a good experience as well. We actually had we have a local doctor-owned clinic, quite large in scope, and reach for this clinic itself, but simply call a hotline, and we've been able to give some symptoms that we're seeing, and it's no questions asked. Hey, we called it, well, it's about 6:20 tonight, 6:20 p.m., and we called about 5:40, and they got us in around 6:10. So again, a little perspective into what our life is looking like here today. My wife's name is Rachel, and again, she's in there getting tested just out of precaution, I suppose you could say. A little bit of symptoms here and there generated today, but again, just an abundance of safety. I think as I share the current state of life, I also want to share some accountability in myself and provides an accountability avenue for a weight loss journey. These past several years for myself have been really one long journey where achieving a physique that I've been looking forward to, has been kind of a vision that I've had since I was a kid. When I was younger, I actually had quite a fast metabolism. I was really a skinny young kid, teenager, preteen, even kind of following high school as well, and you kind of take that for granted, I suppose is a good way to say it. And the accountability that I'm looking for here today is kind of the other side of that coin. What happens when an active younger individual like myself at the time, who's really been able to eat whatever they want and really had sports ingrained in their life for so long, what it looks like after that when you become a little bit more sedentary, step into a job, start your career path, school, of course, higher education kind of being a stressful time, and weight coming with that too. I've been learning how to not necessarily bring myself back to where I might have been in the past, again, because being too skinny wasn't necessarily a goal long term, but I've had the perspective of both sides, kind of seeing what it looks like when you have lower body fat, to see what it looks like when you're maybe on the other side of that and start to put on more body fat than you've ever really had in your life. So long story short, kind of yo-yoed the past couple of years. Really great concepts that I've followed, and really great information that I've obtained throughout the years to really bring me down to lower numbers on the scale, bringing down body fat, but they haven't necessarily been the most sustainable, whether that's keto, for example, or whether it's dropping calories so low that you just become kind of a zombie throughout the day, tired, I suppose you could say. And I had an epiphany here a couple weeks ago to follow what is on paper a very obvious concept from a protein focus, from a macro standpoint, hitting that goal consistently, but also keeping the calories low for a caloric deficit. And again, the accountability is what I'm kind of looking for in making this video series, that I can show the progression today. I actually had some progress here in the last week or two that I'll share as well from a starting point to where I am now. However, it's good to keep that momentum going. And when we talk about the core focus again of my desire to reach out, my desire to put these thoughts into a video format, it's clear to me that one of my greatest passions in life is educating others around myself and empowering them with that newfound knowledge, to share a perspective, meld it with a perspective from another individual, and gain a higher understanding of life, or a different concept. Really be that empowering nature with each other to share experiences, share understanding, share perspectives. And realistically, a lot of my approach from a fitness standpoint has come from the YouTube avenue. It's pretty much my primary form of consumption for learning new things, staying up to date with technology, staying up to date with nutrition, fitness, automotive, whatever, you name it. And I want to contribute to that. I want to share some of the experiences I've had and share some of the knowledge I've had or gained over time to allow others to circumvent a lot of the, well, I wouldn't necessarily call it misinformation that's out there, but there's an abundance of it, and almost levies on the side of sensory overload, I suppose is a good way to put it. And I've certainly experienced that. I've had to kind of sift through the information, find what works for myself, and that's the biggest takeaway. As we go through and we talk through these pieces more, there will not be necessarily a piece of information that I share that's a golden rule that applies to anyone and everyone. However, there are certain core concepts to at least adopt and form to whatever works best for yourself from a consistent standpoint. And again, when we talk about accountability, consistency is key for any kind of change, not just in physique or nutrition commitment, but career path, goals in life. It's a series of small decisions and movements that obtain the bigger picture. So long story short, a little bit more tangible information. So I myself, I'm like 28 years old. I'm around 6'2", and I currently, well, as of a couple weeks ago, I was about 235 from a weight standpoint. And to give you a perspective, growing up throughout school, early high school, probably around 120, end of high school around 165, I would say. Stepping into college, kind of a growth spurt a little bit later, around the 18 years old. Stepping more so into around the 210 mark and growing from there. About 5 years back, my best friend Chris, who was a very committed individual to the gym and still is today, we were introduced to each other via work. At the time, we were mobile electronics installers for a local retailer, remote starts, audio system, stuff like that. And we met through that channel, and that was a time in my life where I was very happy at home, but kind of stressed at work a little bit too. It was just a high volume, fast pace, higher stress, I suppose you could say. And I think I found a lot of comfort in, going home, being happy, spending time with my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time. And long story short, I blinked, it seemed, and I had grown up to about 255 at that time. And it was out of no outside influence or stimulus to start looking inwards and changing that, other than my own. My wife, Rachel, she always tells me that she never really noticed myself getting bigger, and I'll include some pictures previous as well. But there was a goal in mind for myself, upcoming family vacation to go visit my father, who had 3 years over in Dubai. So it was our first year to go see him for a couple weeks at that time. And my buddy Chris had introduced me to the gym, introduced me a little bit to nutrition at the time. Of course, being such a new individual to the gym, I really focused more on the gym itself than the food scales and learning how to eat better, try to outlift the diet, I guess you could say. And that was a goal for me, to make a change, make things better for that time in Dubai, to be proud of those pictures coming home, and the subsequent years after that, just be a better physique each year. However, another force that really drove me to improve my health was kidney stones. I've actually had a couple over my years, and the first one was about 18 years old, and it was easily the longest lasting, the most drawn out, painful kidney stone to date. But it seems that I have, potentially a predisposition. My mother and father both form kidney stones as well, but I refuse to simply accept that pain and just not knowing when the next onset, maybe stone would come, when the next thing would form. So diet was a big piece. Changing the lifestyle of a child and a teenager from energy drinks for lunch, Doritos all day, playing World of Warcraft in the basement, stuff like that, to being serious about nutrition and preventative maintenance for those kidney stones, which has worked out really well. There are times where too much of a healthy food can also be a bad food, I think, from a stone formation standpoint. So there are foods to avoid, but that comes with knowledge and that comes with time. So circling back to the starting weight here of this go round, around 235, following kind of being thrown off on the cycle of, eating a little bit more during the winter to try to gain a little bit more size or strength, and eating a little bit less to prepare for summer, the bulking, cutting kind of seasons in that sense. COVID really messed a lot of those pieces up from a kind of a stress at work standpoint, and the gyms being closed. That was a big piece. It's actually something I'm looking to touch on here today as well, from where the gyms stand here in Minnesota. But the weight that I started at 235, I'm around 228 as of this morning, and that's come from an 1,800 calorie a day consistent goal within MyFitnessPal, and around 200 to 200 plus, a little bit more grams of protein a day. Macros around, well, they vary depending on fat and carb, but I've always been so hyper focused on the ratios of the macro breakdown, and almost to a fault with trying to keep carbs at least a little bit high, especially eating low calories to keep fuel for lifting. But protein will always average around 150 or lower, and of course kind of the benchmark that everybody preaches is around a gram of protein per pound of body weight, and there's 0.8 to 1 gram variance, and some people even preach more, where I could even be eating 230, 250 if I really wanted to. But again, you're kind of limited off the amount of calories it takes to be in a caloric deficit. And for myself, that's really what I'm looking to do here as well. Go through the caloric deficit, see what kind of lean physique I can bring to the surface, a healthy lean physique with muscle preservation, but then also take the path of truly reverse dieting and training the metabolism to operate and maintain on higher calories. If I can maintenance on 2,500, or if I can, grow for 2,750 or 3,000, it'd be nice to really get the metabolism back up to a different operating level, so that next time I want to cut down a little bit more, I'm able to with higher calories, if you will. So that's, at least in a nutshell, the core of what I'm looking to accomplish here. Not just accountability for myself from a fitness and nutrition standpoint, keep the progress going as we lose weight, as the physique comes to the surface, but also talk a little bit about the challenges, what that looks like in today's day and age with gym closures. So it was late November when our governor here in Minnesota closed gyms again. Restaurants, bars, they were affected as well, closing around 10 p.m. I believe next week is actually when gyms are slated to reopen. And for me, that's certainly a light at the end of the tunnel. Nutrition's definitely been brought back into check after maybe a darker day earlier in the year when it comes to just the quarantine and what that does from a lack of gym standpoint, and then having the gym open for a little bit and all of a sudden it's ripped away again. So it definitely invokes its own challenges, and working out from home is a way to preserve, some muscle mass, and walking with our puppy Oakley that we got earlier this year. There are ways to keep up on the physique and keep that momentum going in the right direction. However, I'm very excited to have the nutrition on par and in a standard, consistent fashion, and then step into the gym and really keep building on top of that strong nutritional foundation. So with that being said, again, the core of what I'm looking to do, the accountability standpoint, that's a piece for myself, a piece to kind of share a little bit about what I'm doing in my journey. But again, the education and sharing the wealth of knowledge, sharing the experiences with everybody, whether that's life lessons I've learned, whether that's nutrition pieces that have worked for myself, career path discussions. I'm an IT professional by trade, more so a technology support or technology solutions analyst, excuse me. So kind of stepping a little bit more into the business and technology strategy, talking about the path that took, talking about where I'm at today, where I'd love to be as the future goes, and grow within this role that I'm within. There's just a good point in life where things are aligned quite well to now share where we are, share the education, share the experiences, but then also share updates as we grow. There's a lot of topics, again, to touch on, and we'll see where time takes us. However, I just wanted to put my foot forward and begin. That's the biggest piece. The rest of the organization of the thoughts that I have going around in my head, those will come with time. I'll be able to share the story of my wife and I in all of our years together prior to marriage, and now that we are married, what that looks like for the future, and how that's been the most incredible chapter of my life, and share the chapters of a new home, share the chapters of a new British black lab puppy, again, her name being Oakley, and how much light she's brought to our life, and share some of my other interests from an automotive enthusiast standpoint. Sitting here in the truck talking to you guys now, show you the other vehicles. This is the newest of them all to the fleet, and kind of take you guys through what the rest of the fleet looks like, and take you through what a normal day of eating looks like, what the gym looks like, bringing my family there. It's actually quite nice. We lift with usually most of my family, my father, my younger sister and her boyfriend, and occasionally my wife, and those are always great times to have, sharing that love and passion with others, especially in your inner circle, your family. So what better way to broaden that and share the knowledge than the internet, and take some of the technology knowledge that I have from a professional level and funnel it into higher quality videos to disperse that education and share that wealth of knowledge with everybody. So again, thank you for listening. The first of many videos to come. I'm not always going to be in this pickup front seat, middle of the, evening, but pitch black outside. But we'll see where time takes us, and I'm very excited to see where this journey lands us, and how we progress through this and grow, again, just to learn something new here together. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you next time.